Hi there, folks, and welcome to yet another edition of Georgia Carolina Wrestling. I'm your host, Joey Watts. Along with me, old school Johnny Rocket. Johnny, it's great to be back.
Well, to say that we miss you would be not true.
What crawled up your butt and died?
Oh, nothing. I'm just ready to do the show, and you know, you're late as usual, but that's okay. We're starting now. The audience is ready for some action. So, what do we have this week? What's going on?
All right, we have a star-studded episode of Georgia Carolina Wrestling. We have a very special interview with Sergeant Solitude from Old School Championship Wrestling in Charleston, I believe it is.
Oh, that should be old school likes old school. That should be cool.
I'm glad that meets your criteria.
That should be a very proper wrestling interview.
Folks, we also have one of my favorite wrestlers, the Braveheart, Morgan McNeal. We even got some haggis in the green room.
That should be interesting.
And in our feature match tonight, you're going to see Hans Baumgartner, the FCW World Champion, take on the man we just spoke about, who's in studio tonight, the Braveheart, Morgan McNeal.
And this is definitely a match that you should see because the outcome is brilliant.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, folks, stick around. We got a great show in store for you. And before we cut to the news, we'd like to actually dedicate this episode of Georgia Carolina Wrestling to former world-class championship wrestling out of Dallas, Texas, senior official Bronco Lubitsch.
And let's also remember that Bronco was also a wrestler back in the 50s and 60s in the area for Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Absolutely, and now Bronco, he's calling those matches in that great ring in the sky.
Reunited with pretty much the whole Von Erich family.
Absolutely. Folks, stick around.
Welcome back to GCW on WBEK. I am the Scoop, Lionel Howard, with your news and notes for this edition of GCW. You know, at the recent FCW Splashdown event, we saw some significant events take place. We saw Tony Tsunami defeat Brian Baldwin for the Rage Division Championship. Tony Tsunami is your new Rage Division Champion. We also saw the Tag Team Title Tournament continue, and we saw Vincent Chambers and Dustin Michaels lose against Johnny Blaze and James Hunter. James Hunter and Johnny Blaze will continue in the Tag Team Title Tournament. And also in the main event, we saw Morgan McNeal lose to Hans Baumgartner. Hans Baumgartner is still your world champion with the help of the live organ and Miss Harden. He retained that world championship. And also I'd like to cover a CWA event that's going to take place in Columbia, South Carolina, September 6th, up at the Jamil Temple. It's CWA versus TNA. And we see the card is already filling up as we see CWA's Xavier Knight taking on TNA's Chris Sabin. CWA's Malachi will be taking on TNA's The Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels. And CWA's Josh Magnum will be taking on TNA's Lethal, also known as the Black Machismo. Fans, check the website for these events and much more. I am the Scoop, Lionel Howard. Thank you.
Everybody ready? I'll be the first in line. The race is on, no end this year. I can't be second best. The flags are waving in the air. Feel adrenaline, it's burning. When you taste blood, it's just a war.
Welcome back to GCW on WBEK. I am the Scoop, Lionel Howard here with a very special interview straight from the Highlands of Scotland. Please welcome Morgan McNeal to the GCW studios. Welcome, Morgan McNeal. We're glad to have you.
Thank you for having me, Lionel.
Okay, you know, at the recent FCW Rage event, we saw you defeat Stud McCoy for that #1 contendership match. Tell us about that match.
Well, it was a hard-fought victory indeed. Stud McCoy's a hell of a competitor, and he gave 100%, but I gave 110%, and that's why I won the title shot.
Right, and that led up to you going one-on-one with Hans Baumgartner at the Splashdown show out at Patriots Park. And unfortunately, you came up a little short due to outside interference from the live organ and Miss Harden.
Well, that's very true. Hans Baumgartner and Live Oregon can't win a match clean anymore. They rely on their little valet, Miss Harden, to run around and do the dirty work.
Well, hopefully there's a rematch clause here in the future that you're going to use.
You know, I would certainly hope there's a rematch clause. I'm going to talk to Daniel Main about that, because I definitely want another shot at Hans Baumgartner.
Definitely seems that Hans Baumgartner is a definite force to be reckoned with as the world champion.
He's beatable. He doesn't think he is, but he is.
All right, good deal. Well, thank you so much for coming on GCW, Morgan McNeal.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much. We have to fly him back here to the Highlands of Scotland. This is the Scoop, Lionel Howard. Thank you.
Coming up later in our main event, challenger Morgan McNeal takes on FCW World Champ Hans Baumgartner. Coming up next, Joey Watts talks to Sergeant Solitude. Only on Georgia Carolina Wrestling. Stick around.